I reminisce. Yeah. I reminisce for a spell, or shall I say?
Welcome to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, your home for the mindset, methodology, and tools needed to be a successful foreclosure acquisition specialist. And now your host, the Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donny.
Hello and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and the Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donny, recording from the Creative Density Studios in downtown Denver, Colorado. As always, I am accompanied by my producer, Mr. Jonathan Winston. What's going on, bruh?
Well, we're here, man. Another day in paradise. Things might be a little bit crazy, but we still got the opportunity to be healthy. So continue to wash your hands and just continue to get out there and get after it if you can.
Love it, man. It's great PSA. Great PSA. Listen, that's so true. You know, we're going through some stuff right now as a society, as a country, as a global culture, and the key is to stay positive. We've been through stuff before, whether, if you talk to the older generation who, went through wars, they went through famine, they went through cultural oppression of all sorts, and they survived it. This too shall pass. That's really good advice, man. I appreciate that, and I hope you guys are feeling the same. Let's get to it. This is a Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. Enough of this happy-go-lucky stuff. Let's get to business, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Our article today comes from NPR, and it discusses banks agreeing with California to stop foreclosures for 90 days in the coronavirus crisis. So the title of today's show is going to be Foreclosures Stopped. Now what?
Now what?
Right? Because this is going on all across the country. See, I got to hand to the banks. There's a positive spin to this, and I don't want to just make it seem like this is some kind of conspiracy theory, but right out of the gate, most banks teamed up with the state. Maybe the state requested it. I doubt the bank suggested it first, but somebody suggested, let's defer payments for 90 days, right? And while we're deferring payments for 90 days, let's also defer the ability to foreclose on people who can't make their payments. Right? So they basically put a moratorium on foreclosures for 90 days. So now what? Because it sounds like a good thing unless you're a foreclosure deals coach and like your whole business is on foreclosures.
Wait, 90 days?
90 days, yeah. 90 days without foreclosing on anybody, right? So here's the thing about that. It seems like if you're in the business of buying distressed properties or foreclosures, this is a bad thing. But I got to tell you, this is actually very good news in either case. We're going to start because we serve two audiences here, right? Some of the people listening to this show are your general homeowner, right, who may be facing a foreclosure right now. If you've lost your source of income, God forbid, maybe you're already behind a little bit. Or just in a situation where you can't really face the foreclosure crisis right now, because you have an income problem as is, right? So if that describes you, take some heed here, right? It's okay. You can't be foreclosed on for 90 days. Now, if your income's also gone, you probably don't have a way to get out of said hole, but at least you've got some time to figure it out, right? Maybe it's time to sell that car you've been meaning to get rid of, right? Maybe you got to consolidate some debt. Maybe you got to consider a side hustle to generate some income. But the good news is you've got 90 additional days now to figure all this out. So please take advantage of that. Own the fact that you've been granted the greatest gift of all things, which is time. Right? If you're in a real jam with foreclosure, this show serves two purposes. One of them is helping investors to benefit from distressed assets and making money on them. But the other thing is helping people who are in a foreclosure situation to help themselves out. Right? Now, I'm going to shoot straight with you. A lot of people I talk to who are in a foreclosure situation, they're behind on payments, they don't know what to do. Very often, not always, but very often the answer is to sell the house. Not necessarily to an investor. It really kind of depends on the condition, right? If you've got a retail condition house, you're well behind. Sometimes it's better to list and sell the property as opposed to losing it to foreclosure. You know, because in a foreclosure, for those of you who don't know, when you lose your house to foreclosure, you end up getting nothing, right? Whatever equity was in that property, the bank is going to keep that equity, right? And that's where the conspiracy theory kind of sneaks in a little bit, right? If they're deferring foreclosures for 90 days and payments for 90 days, are they not building some momentum to be able to foreclose on properties?
Wait a minute.
I'm telling you. Right? So we got to look at the big picture. When big money operates, never, ever, ever assume it's for the greater good.
Oh, man.
Because it's not. Like, these guys did not get loaded off the greater good. Now, I'm not saying all rich people are bad or money is bad. I'm not saying any of that stuff. What I'm saying is, generally speaking, these guys are protecting their bottom line. And their bottom line includes their employees, their office space, all the people that are supported by that banking institution, okay? They are not, however, including necessarily the clients who are debtors to them, okay? You're not in the list of people they're looking to protect. You need to just own that right now, okay? They don't necessarily want to hurt you. They need you to continue to operate the way they've operated, but don't get it twisted. They're like, oh, they're deferring my payment because they love me. They don't love you. They make a profit off of you. Okay? So don't get it twisted. If you're in a jam right now, you need to take action. You need to take action right now. Get that house on the market. If it's in disrepair and you're probably not going to be able to retail it, call an investor. There are multiple houses out there, people out there who are buying houses cash who will maybe leave you with some equity in that property so you're not walking away with nothing. But I got to tell you, there's very little actual reason for a house to go into foreclosure. There are so many options out there between selling it to an investor, renting it out, any number of things you could do without having that on your credit. That being the case, a lot of people do what I call the ostrich method. They stick their head in the sand a little bit and they end up getting nothing for their property. Please, as a listener to this show, don't let that happen to you. And if you know somebody, listeners, who is in a situation and they don't know what to do, send them to the show. Have them listen to this episode. We'll point them in the right direction. It is not all about profit here. Okay? A lot of this is about how can we impart knowledge and wisdom out there to avoid the foreclosure process, which in a market like we're in right now is completely and utterly unnecessary. Okay? There's so much equity in the marketplace right now. Don't give it back to the banks. Now, when the market's the other way, we're in a full-on foreclosure market, sometimes handing the keys back to the bank is the right thing. In the 08-09 crisis, I talked to people in California, where this article from NPR was published out of, that were $250,000. They owed $250,000 more than that house was worth. Ooh. In that situation, give the house back. Right? There's no reason to take a $250,000 hit. But most of you, like I'm talking 80-90% of you, are sitting in equity in your property right now, regardless of the condition it's in. Right? Most of you are in a position where you could sell at some degree of profit, or at very worst case scenario, a break even. There's no valid reason to be foreclosing, and the only reason you will foreclose is if you do not take action right now. The forbearance will help you, gives you 90 days not to make the payment. This time that they're shutting down foreclosures gives you 90 days to figure this situation out, but 90 days can happen just like that. Okay, so don't sit around and wait for this to get better. It's not going to get better. And I know it sounds like I'm preaching to you guys, but the thing about it is this is my passion. We don't need a foreclosure market, right? We don't need to drive the market into the depths and dodges of the earth because of this situation. That's what I think is going to happen. Okay? But I don't think it needs to happen. If we can just inform and educate people, there is another way. Now, I'm not going to kid you. Some people are going to lose their homes. That is just absolute fact. Okay? And I'm not happy about that. I'm not celebrating the fact that's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen. The question you got to ask yourself is, if you're going to lose your home anyway, do you want to lose your home with $10,000 in your pocket so you can go get restarted up somewhere else? Or do you want to lose your home and have nothing to your name after years of making the payment? Seems like a no-brainer, right? If you're going to lose the property anyway, lose it with some degree of profit out the door. And here's the other reality. If you put a house on the market today, it's going to take longer to sell because things are moving slower right now, but it is absolutely going to sell. Everything everything priced correctly sells. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're the proud owner of a Ferrari 488 convertible, right? And you need to sell that car that you paid $250,000 for. This is a very extreme example. I'm a car guy. Deal with it, all right?
All right.
If you put that car on the market at $250,000, right, you're going to have a lot of people who know what that car is worth look at the car and go, yeah, $250, but I could buy it from you, or I could buy it from that guy, or I could go to the dealership and buy it. It's just not great of a deal, right? And it'll sit. Eventually, if it's the right color, if it's got the right mileage, somebody's going to come along and give you market price for the car, no doubt, okay? Same scenario, but you're desperate to sell. You're in a situation. So this $250,000 car you decide to put on the market for $150,000. Oh, wow. By the way, if you happen to own a Ferrari you want to sell for $150,000, I ain't exactly got the cash right now, but I'll find a way. So just call it your boy, I'll take care of it, all right? We will figure that situation out, right? But all kidding aside, if you price stuff at or below market, let's say at market, when the market slows down, you're going to see days on market go up. Meaning if you're pricing at market, it's going to take longer to sell as this happens, right? Whereas we were seeing days on market wander in the single digits in almost every locale. We saw 10 days or lower days on market for a well-priced home. In Colorado, we were averaging 3 days on market for quite some time. Wow. Stuff was just flying off the shelves, right? You're going to see that number start to get to normal amounts. What is normal? Well, in a normally balanced market, you should see 21 to 30 days on market, maybe even more, depending on the price range we're talking about, okay? So we're so far off of normal right now that just getting back to a typical days on market cycle would not necessarily be a bad thing, okay? That's what I think is gonna happen. That being said, if you don't have that kind of time, you're behind the gun. Foreclosure's looming. In this case, you got plenty of time because you just got 90 days more, right? If you didn't have the time, you would have to price it below market to appeal to that investor, going back to the Ferrari example, that's going to happily pay below market for the property regardless of the condition. So if you're looking at your house right now and going, this will never sell on the open market, it needs windows, it smells like dog, it's got problems, the furnace is not working, there's a hole in the roof, do not despair. Find an investor to buy the house and price it accordingly. You can sell any house at any condition as long as you are pricing it correctly. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right, so we spent enough time on the retail side of this. Let's talk to my investor brethren. How y'all doing?
Hey, what up, man?
Yeah, it's good to see you, good to see you. Hey, listen, I'm excited. And I don't know if you can tell that I'm excited, but because I sound like this all the time, like Samuel Jackson. This is just how I talk.
Yeah, this is him, guys, all the time.
All the time. This is like, can I get a quarter pounder with cheese, please? Why are you so upset? I'm not upset. This is how I talk. Anyway, you investors need to bear down right now, okay? If you're in a position where you can build some cash reserves today, I encourage you to do it. If you've got some assets, right, that you've been thinking about selling, you're not sure, you want to get as liquid as possible right this moment. There's very little point in leaving all this money up in the stock market that's on a roller coaster right now, okay? You're up 5% one day, you're down 3% the next day. Do you really want to live in that roller coaster? Heck no. Get out now. All the smart money did, that's why the market took a dip. Right? So all the big guys go, oh, time to liquidate some capital, man. And now they're sitting on this huge stockpile of money. There's this website called Patch of Land, and I want you to check this out. But Patch of Land is basically a private investor site for real estate, okay? Patch of Land has been around for years. In the last 3 months, they have seen a 500% spike in traffic from, wait for it, China.
Oh, wait a minute.
Home of the coronavirus.
Oh, man.
So now China, who's on the other side of this, is going, well, now this is interesting. When our market dipped down, we were able to buy in cheap. Do you know their market in China? I saw a report that it's already rebounding, that real estate's already starting to, it hit the bottom, it's heading back up in a matter of months.
Wow.
Mind you, okay? Matter of months. They saw that bounce. Millions of dollars were transferred. It's an absolute economic shift. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and sometimes the poor, the smart, undercapitalized people make the right moves and become one of the elite. right? Your opportunity to do that has never been stronger than it is right now, and the Chinese are now investing heavily in U.S. real estate. Should we not be following? Like, we're on a sell-off right now. People are panicking. I'm getting phone calls. I got to sell this house. Coronavirus. It's over. Take it. Oh, my God. Right? Meanwhile, China's in there slowly buying stuff.
Wait a minute. It seems kind of backwards.
It seems kind of backwards because they know something we don't. Right? And what they know is profit is made in times of crisis, right? I'm not encouraging gouging. I was so upset seeing people charge more for bottled water and, all the stuff that was going on during the coronavirus scandal. That's disgusting.
Dude, I'll slap you.
That's just miserable.
Why are you overpricing
You should not be doing that. Don't gouge people. But on the flip side of that, the smart money, there's ability to profit. There are now services that need to be more in line right now because of what's going on. One of those services is going to be purchasing distressed real estate at a discount, right? People are going to be in a distressed situation. They're going to be faced, if you listen to the first half of the show, with getting absolutely nothing for the house. And now investors, like the listeners of this show, some of you, can step in and provide a service of buying these properties before they're lost back to the banks, right? I am not anti-bank. I love my banks. They're great people, but giving them stuff like fees, ATM charges, interest upsets me. It upsets me because they got so much money already. Like, giving them more of my money upsets me, but giving them my equity, not a chance. There's absolutely no way I'm going to walk away from a property and watch the banks pocket equity. Right? They lend at very high rates. They've generally made the money back in the principal within the first 10 years of ownership or so. They've made all the money on that loan back anyway. Now they're just making interest, right? And you're still paying for another 20 years on that note.
30-year note.
Right?
No.
They've already made their money on you. Right?
No.
They're just going to stretch this out as long as they can go. And I'm not knocking it. It's an excellent way to build a business. Like, banks have to exist. They take deposit funds. They lend it out at an interest rate. We need the banking industry. But my point, guys, is think like a bank. Okay? Think like the guys with the money. Okay? If you're in a situation where things are going to be on sale, you can buy stuff at a discount, capitalize on that. Right? We are in if you listen to the last episode, I talked about the I told you so thing. The crisis I've been telling you was coming for the better part of 2 years. I've been saying we have to rebound. This market it's a cycle, and the cycle is past due, and something, Lord knows we didn't know it was this, but something is going to drive this thing into a crisis state, and now here we are. Two ways to handle this. You can panic and run for the hills, as so many people are going to do. But as the great Warren Buffett said, I found the best way to make money is to find out what everybody else is doing and then attempt to do the opposite. Right? We have the opportunity, as people are in a sell-off, as they are concerned about keeping their home, to position ourselves to buy. So going back to my, what should you do if you're an investor? Foreclosures are stopped. Now what? Now start preparing your cash reserves. Get your private money resources put together. Reach out to a hard money lender. Talk to your bank about investment loans. Whatever you got to do to be prepared to start buying, start preparing now, because foreclosures have been stopped for 90 days.
90 days, 90 whole days.
You've got 3 whole months to set yourself up for the rest of your future, the rest of your life, if you will. Now is the time. Don't miss this opportunity, folks. Don't miss it. And if you're not sure what to do, that's what Foreclosure Deals coaching is all about. It's to help guide you and walk you through the initial steps of buying. Because I can tell you, if I had a great mentor, during this last crisis, right? But if I'd gotten in before the crisis began and started preparing as opposed to afterwards, I'd be having this conversation with y'all from my helicopter, right? All right, you're with the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast.
I got beef with all helicopters. R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. Let's not even talk about it.
You gotta let that go, man.
I'm not, man.
So my point is, preparation is the key right now. Let's get started. Let's have some fun with this show. Let's talk real world market analysis. Let's talk buying properties in back of book. I've had conversations with people where there's nothing wrong with the house. They were listed at $280,000, wanted to sell for $230,000. Nothing wrong with the house. Why? Just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge, right? So the opportunities are out there. I encourage you as a listener, You've kind of paid your stripes here, right? You have started down the path of doing this. And if you're new to the show, you've just begun with us. Listen, you're at the right place at the right time. We've been talking about it for a while. We're going to now start putting the theory we've been discussing for the previous episodes into practice and show you some real world deals. And I'm willing to take this right down to the granular level. If you've got a deal you need some analysis help with, you want to have me walk through it on whether or not you think it's a great deal, I will offer that to you for free because I'm going to use that as a leverage point to eventually get you into my coaching program. But today, free analysis. Right? Let's go over a deal you're considering. Let's work together to find out if foreclosure deal coaching is right for you, if real estate investment coaching is going to work in your portfolio and with your schedule. And if that's the case, I would be honored to be your coach in this space. Right? So we're out of time for this week. Listen, I can't thank you guys enough for holding on to this crazy notion that one day the market was going to correct, right? One day, you guys just continue to listen. Listenership has gone up and up and up. More and more people have been tuning in, and we really didn't have as much to talk about. We had a bunch of theory. We had data we were going over. Now we're seeing this happen in real time. The revolution has begun, people, and you're a part of it. You're here right now with me. We're going to take over. You know, if you're in trouble in the foreclosure, don't pull the ostrich method. Get some advice, get some help. I'd be happy to work with you in that capacity as well. Find me on LinkedIn, locate the Foreclosure Deals Coach page on Facebook. Multiple ways to reach out to me. But listen, I'm here to help. I want to be your adversary in this time of not knowing what's going on in specifically the real estate foreclosure market, because a lot of changes are happening. It's going to be an incredible time to be here. With that, this is Donny Corum, your foreclosure deals coach, reminding you again, don't you dare buy a house, buy a deal.